Hi, it's Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and on today's video we'll be taking a look at the Enigma that is the Kolink Regulator ATX 3.0 PCIe Express Gen 5 power supply. This particular version we've got here today to take a look at is the 850 watt model. There are other ones available, such as a 750, 1200s, etc. I will put links for these in the video description so you can check them out yourselves. This one actually came from overclockers.co.uk here in the UK, but they are available pretty much throughout Europe and other places as well. Kolink is one of those brands which is primarily in Germany, I believe, and that sort of European area, but they do trade in other places as well, so do keep a lookout for them. They've got some pretty decent stuff, including cases and fans, all that kind of good stuff. So nice to see some new power supplies coming out on the market, especially ones which come in at a relatively good price. Now, this is the Enigma of this particular power supply. At the moment, it retails for somewhere around the £100 mark, which for an 850 watt PCI Express Gen 5 ATX 3.0 power supply is actually quite compelling. And some of the similar spec units on the market are somewhere in the £100 to £120 to £160 bracket. So there is a few options out there, but this at the moment does seem to be one of the cheapest available, which is kind of weird because you don't normally expect a brand like Kolink, who are a relative unknown, to come out with a power supply which is kind of making other manufacturers scratch their heads and say, well, how did you actually manage it? So as per usual with a review of this type or an unboxing, I generally find out who the OEM is. So I asked Kolink, or their representative in the UK, who the actual OEM is for this power supply, and they came back with, sorry, we can't tell you. Now this is where the Enigma begins. So first of all, when they won't tell you who the OEM is, it kind of makes you worry, but it was explained to me that the reason they won't divulge who it is because they've spent a lot of time and effort actually going through various different partners to actually design and specify this power supply, and other manufacturers are actually questioning how they've done it. So they actually want to keep it a little bit of a trade secret. So yeah, a little bit of skullduggery going on there, which I kind of like. So I can't tell you who the OEM is for this. I have taken it apart to have a look inside. You'll be seeing the insides of it now on your screen. So if any of you eagle-eyed viewers can recognize the manufacturer from this, feel free to let me know in the comments section. I would actually be very interested to find out. Also, you will notice from some of the pictures, you'll see what is going on inside. Now this has 100% Japanese caps, with the primary phases coming from Nippon Chemicon and the secondaries coming from Jamicon TKs. Those are 105s. The primary one is a Nippon, but it's only an 85C rated. So I think that is potentially where they've saved some money. Now this is a gold rated power supply, so obviously it has to pass certain specifications. So they've managed to actually make a power supply which is extremely efficient, comes in quite cheap, and is seemingly relatively easy to produce. So yeah, there is somewhat of an enigma going on here. So you're probably thinking, well, it's a little bit on the cheap side, so where does it go wrong? Well, they've got 7 levels of protection built into this thing, including over voltage protection, under voltage protection, over power protection, short circuit protection, over current protection, over temperature protection, and also surge inrush protection. All of this works out to be pretty much the norm these days, what you would expect to see for a high spec power supply. The one thing which I have noticed with this, which we'll find out as we look on the box, is the warranty. Now the warranty is actually, again, somewhat of an enigma. They are offering a swappable warranty. So if you purchase this power supply, you then decide to maybe sell the power supply on to somebody else, you can actually allow the warranty to continue, which a lot of manufacturers won't do. They just simply are for the original customer, and that is it. So they do actually state in their literature, which we'll take a brief look at, that yes, it is a swappable warranty. Now the one thing which is slightly concerning about the warranty is the length of it. Now, because of obviously costs and things, they have actually offered with this a 3-year warranty, whereas the norm for a power supply of this kind of level, especially ATX 3.0 PCIe Express Gen 5, you would normally be looking at a minimum of around about 5 years. So if warranty is something which you really do kind of value, then perhaps you might want to look elsewhere. But if you want to save money, have a nice power supply with a very quiet fan, then potentially you want to carry on watching the rest of this video. So let's go through and see what it's all about. Got the package in here. So as you can see, this is the Kolink Regulator 850 watt ATX 3.0 switching power supply. On the box there at the bottom, it tells you about some of the key features. So silent design. This does actually have a dual mode fan, so you can have it in kind of smart silent, or you can have it just in regular mode. In regular mode, it's going to start spinning at around about 600 RPM up to a maximum of 1600 RPM. If you put it into the smart silent mode, then it only kicks in when the power supply is around about 30% of its load, at which point it kicks in then at 600 RPM and then gradually catches up the curve. You're probably seeing the curve from the side of the box right now. On the back of the box, it goes through some of the other specifications. So as we said, it's 80 plus gold certified, ATX 3.0 ready, and it does come with a 12 VHP 600 watt connector. And also, like I said, it's got the switchable semi-fanless mode. I'll let you read through the rest of that should you wish to, and we'll carry on. When it comes to the actual voltage on this, or wattage I should say, you're looking at 70.5 amps on the 12 volt rail, which gives you about 845 watts, so just about 4 or 5 watts out from the sticker rating, but that's absolutely fine, and you'll be seeing that on the screen as well. Also included in the box are all the things you'd expect with a power supply. So you get a power cable, which will be suitable for your region. Unfortunately, this one isn't. You also get 4 mounting screws to put it into your case. You also get a user manual, which tells you what all the cables are, etc. And also you get the warranty guide as well, which, yeah, again, that's quite an interesting one with the swappable warranty. So before we take a look at the actual power supply itself, let's take a look at some of the cabling. So the first one is going to be the main 24-pin power connector. This one done in those nice flat black cables. So if you do have a case where there's a little bit of narrow room to maneuver in the back there, these are nice and easy to cable manage. This one comes in at 600 millimeters. Next up is the EPS connector or CPU connector. So you get 2 of these included. So you can plug in 2 of these. Both of them are split as well, so if yours only needs a 4-pin, you can just push that apart and split them, but you get 2 of those on individual cables, those measuring at 650 millimeters in length. Next one on the list is possibly the star of the show if you are considering a modern NVIDIA graphics card, although we haven't quite seen the adoption of this connection that I think some of the manufacturers were expecting. So this is the 12 volt high power connection. This one is rated for up to 600 watts. And it's the same on both ends. So this is actually really nice if you've got a graphics card that takes a lot of juice and you want to simplify cable management. If your graphics card actually has this type of connector, these are really, really nice to use. And if you need a little bit of extra length, this one is slightly longer than usual. This one comes in at 600 mil, whereas normally they tend to be somewhere between 500 and 550. Next up, we've got our PCI Express, or the standard type, so the 6-pin or the 8-pin, or 6+2, however you want to look at it. So this is, again, done very nicely, flat cables. And you've got 2 cables, which are just dedicated 6+2s, so 8 pins. So if you just want to run 2 8 pins to your graphics card, you can do that, no problems at all. Again, these are 600 millimeters as well. There's also included a one with a piggyback, which we're used to seeing on some cheaper power supplies. And this one will give you in total 4 PCI Express cables, 1 being split, 2 being kind of native. And this one is a little bit longer, so you've got 600 mil up to the first connector, then another 150 between the 2. So if you do have some kind of weird SLI configuration going on, not that you're likely to, but potentially you might want to take advantage of that. Next up, slightly more boring, the SATA connectors. So you get 3 SATA connectors on each cable, 2 cables, so meaning up to 6 SATA drives. This is the same sort of deal, so 500 mil to the first connector, then 150 space in between each one, giving you a total of 800 mil. And last but not least, our Molex connector. I know they're not Molex connectors, that is what they're known as. So the 4-pin style peripheral connector, same sort of deal again. So this is 500 mil to the first connector, then 150 for each additional one. Because there's 4 on here in total, you're looking at 950 mil. So finally, we get to take a look at the power supply itself. And actually, I quite like this. It's a nice little unit, 140 mil, so nice and compact if you want to fit it into smaller cases, or maybe a micro ATX and you're trying to stuff as much in as you possibly can. Something else which I really like on this is the grill on the fan. Now, normally, these kind of grills you'd think of being in a slightly more cheaper unit, but actually, these make a ton of sense because there's a lot less restriction because it's just basically fine wire, basically like a grill. It allows a lot of fresh air to go in without needing a fan with high static pressure. So this will produce lots of airflow going through there to keep things nice and cool, which actually might be beneficial being that those primary caps are only rated at 85C. Also the fan, actually quite a decent fan. I wasn't too sure about this one, so I did have to do some research on it. Made by a company called BDC, and the model number I looked up, and even if you want to buy one of these fans as a replacement, should for some reason it fail, these on their own are about 20 quid. So it's a really expensive fan. I was expecting it to be some cheapo no-name thing, but it seems even on AliExpress, these things still cost about $20. So yeah, bear that in mind. It is super quiet. It's really hard for me to actually demonstrate on camera how quiet this actually is. So I'm not going to bother, but trust me, it's really quiet, and obviously if you put it in smart fan mode, it's silent because the fan doesn't move at all unless it's under a reasonable load. But if you're looking for a silent power supply, or one which you cannot tell over the rest of your system, this is well worth it, although the grill does sound a little bit like a ukulele. On the other side of the regulator, we've got all the specs there, and also our 80 plus gold label on there. On the back, you've got your power inputs. You've also got a power on-off switch, and also next to that, you've got the on-off switch for the smart fan. So if you put it into the on mode, it's in smart mode. If you turn it off, it just spins all the time. Again, you won't hear it. On the other side, it's got actually a very tasteful Kolink logo in there, just embossed into the metal itself rather than being a cheap sticker. So it means they put a little bit of effort into this rather than just slapping a sticker on from some other brand. So yeah, I kind of like that, and it isn't very intrusive, and most people will probably never even notice it. Moving around to the business end. Now this is again something which I think they've done really, really well. So in the manual, it goes through and tell you what cable goes in which, and they're all clearly numbered, as you can see on here. So you've got ports 1 through to 11. It tells you exactly what goes in where, so it's very difficult to make a mistake. And also they're all pinned differently. But if you are using PCI Express or the EPS cables, because those 8 pins are all the same, there's 4 connections down there, so you can have combinations of whatever you want to do. So say for instance you want to put an 8 pin into your motherboard on EPS on maybe port number 8, you can then use ports 9, 10 and 11, 3 of those for your GPU. So if you've got something like an RX 6900 XT, you can plug those in, no problems at all, and still get enough juice to your motherboard as well, which is excellent. Number 7 is one of the key ones, so this is our high power connector, the 12 volt high power for those NVIDIA graphics cards. Then between 3 to 6, you've got your peripheral connectors, so whether it's going to be your SATA cables, whether it's going to be your Molex, that is entirely up to you. And ports number 1 and 2 are for your 24 pin power supply. So it's really straightforward. They've laid it all out. It says there in English exactly what it is. It's going to be very, very difficult to go wrong on this, I think. So there you go, there is a look at the Kolink Regulator ATX 3.0 PCI Express Gen 5 power supply with the 80 plus gold rating on there, both for the 115 volt and also the 230 volt users. So whether you're in the States or whether you're in the UK, Europe, etc., then you should still get those benefits of that efficiency, which is always nice to see. My real takeaway from this is have a look around, see what the prices are like. These power supplies, especially ATX 3.0 PCI Express Gen 5 power supplies, the prices are very much in flux. I personally feel that they haven't taken on quite as quickly as the manufacturers expected them to. Some of the other power supplies, the ATX 2.0s, they've ramped down production to ramp up for these. So we're getting to a point in the market where people are starting to maybe want the older, cheaper power supplies and are somewhat hesitant to go towards the newer ones, which means generally, if there's people holding stock, the prices are going to drop, as which we've seen with some other brands where they've dropped quite significantly to almost ridiculous prices. But at normal pricing, this one comes out pretty much on top for the specifications. The next nearest one I could find of a similar price was actually a bronze rated one, which was PCI Express Gen 5 ATX 3.0 for basically the same money. So that had a slightly longer warranty for the bronze version. This has got a slightly shorter warranty. So I suppose really it's going to come down to, do you value a warranty or do you value efficiency? I guess that's going to come down to the individual. So there you go, that has been the Kolink Regulator ATX 3.0 PCI Express Gen 5 power supply. Let me know what you think about this in the comment section. Is 3 years too little for a power supply of this kind of price point? I'm actually really interested to hear what your thoughts are, whether you do value the efficiency or whether you value that warranty length. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. I've been Mike, this is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.